This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.
Thank you for listening to the Covert Nerd Podcast. I really appreciate the fact that you take the time to hear what I have to say. Please pause this episode right now and think of somebody that you might know who would be interested in this topic. Family member, friend, coworker, whatever, and share it with them and let them know about the podcast. I would really appreciate it. Please go to covertnerd.net for all the different ways you can get in touch with me. Let me know about different topics you might be interested in. I would really appreciate any feedback. And without further ado, let's dive right in and nerd it up. Welcome, everybody. We've got Tim, our Rainbow Comics expert, comic extreme.
Ooh, where's he at?
The man that knows all. Tim. Thanks, Tim. We've been trying to record this episode about X-Men forever, but life just seems to get in the way. But I'm glad we're finally going to tackle Ten of Swords.
Ten of Swords. It's been, while we're recording this in, what, mid to late January. We got a new president now. That's weird. But it's been, man, Ten of Swords ended in December, I think, and it's been a minute. It's a 22 issue epic that's in X-Men, and I've read every issue, but I haven't read every issue recently, so I'm gonna be a little bit rusty, but I'll do my best.
If we make a mistake, we apologize ahead of time. But Tim doesn't make mistakes.
I don't make mistakes, and I refuse to apologize.
Okay, there you have it. Well, the Ten of Swords, obviously, we know Jonathan Hickman is the man behind the latest X-Men run. And is it Tini Howard?
Teeny Howard.
Teeny Howard, there, sorry. Pronounced it wrong.
Right. I mean, I don't know. It's not my name.
We've got art by Pepe Larraz, and I know one of your favorites did a variant cover, Peach.
Oh,
Momoko.
yeah, Peach Momoko.
Yeah.
I'm really quick as an aside. I was super lucky to get my Starman piece from her. I mean, it's Starman. I got a piece from her like last year, and her rates had already gone up in the year, because the year prior I was thinking about getting a piece from her. So I got one last year, and now she's exploding at my store. Almost every week I'm having about 4 or 5 different variants that Peach has done. And she also doing her first interior work for Marvel here in just a couple of months. She's going to be doing an X-Men book that's reimagining X-Men as like Japanese folk heroes, kind of, and it looks really, really fun. That's my aside for Peach Momoko.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan, so I saw her name pop up on several of these, so I think she's got a future at Marvel, I think.
She's one of their young guns this year.
Oh, okay.
When we're done with this, if you want, I have her covers behind the counter. I'll show you.
Yeah, well, we'll put some of those in the show notes.
Sure.
And get some of those. What about the run itself? Let's just do kind of the 10,000-foot view of Ten of Swords. What was your impression of that?
Well, real quick, let's talk about what Ten of Swords is.
Yes.
So Ten of Swords, basically...
we should pause. We're going to spoil the heck out of this.
So. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to do our best. There is so many moving parts to this story that it is completely bonkers. We will not be covering everything. It's impossible.
It's huge.
It's so big. And some of it is less important to the overall story than others. Like Hellions was a huge standout, but has almost nothing to do with the main story.
That was hilarious.
It was really good. But anyway, Ten of Swords, basically the concept is Krakoa, which is the island upon which the sovereign mutant nation exists, used to be part of another island called Krakoa, Oraka, and they used to be one entity. They got split. Krakoa is in our world. Oraka they're in a completely different dimension. And the bridge between those dimensions is Otherworld.
Otherworld. There we go. Okay.
And there's a fight, and the leader of Otherworld, whose name is Opal Luna Saturnine, I believe.
Wow, you got the whole name. I'm impressed.
No. I reread Creation last night. I didn't. and I was like, I need to know what the catalyst for this is. But Opal Luna Saturnine is probably how I'll refer to her. It could be Saturnine or Saturnine, or I don't know how to say it. I'm going to say Saturnine because I'm super white, and that's what it looks like. But she basically says, hey, y'all want to fight? We'll set up a tournament, and we'll have the 10 swords fight each other. But there's technically 19 swords.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
and one of them kind of exists. It's like split. The Muramasa blade, and it's very weird. So basically, arbitrarily, we're setting up a fight between the mutant nation of Krakoa and Oraka, excuse me. It's so hard to say, which is populated by Apocalypse's family from like before time, kind of.
way back. Yeah,
like so. Yeah, you have like his wife and his kids, and then Pog and some really weird, very cool characters.
like the first horseman, I guess, is there?
Yeah,
what
like
they're considered.
the first horseman, and like just the most random assortment of like messed up sci-fi horror creatures ever. It's really, really cool. But it's the reason they're fighting is almost not important. But it is a fight between Krakoa and Oraka. And yeah, it's basically there's going to be a series of events, and it's kind of like a weird paranormal Olympics, I guess, or super normal, not paranormal, but super normal Olympics. And at the end, whoever has the most points, whichever team has the most points, wins. Yeah. But it's kind of ambiguous as like what that means. But basically, we have two islands that exist in two different planes of reality, and their champions are going to fight each other.
Yeah, they even give scores throughout the series of Krakoa, 18, Oroka 15 or whatever as they're going through. So they even they pretty much acknowledge that this is just a tournament.
It's a tournament.
It's what it's going to be.
Stakes seem like they might be pretty high, but that's kind of a broad overview. Two islands are fighting to win. My view is going back to your original question. What are my thoughts on 10 of Swords as an event? I don't know.
Did they land the finish? I guess might be a way to.
I don't know.
Okay. And when you got done with the series, you're like, okay, I kind of like this. This is good.
When I got done with it, I was just like, what? So, the interesting thing. Let's real quick. What we had with 10 of Swords, breaking it down to like its component parts, I suppose, is it was a 22-part story. Most of which took place within roughly about 2 issues of each of the existing X books, not including like miniseries like Juggernaut wasn't a part of it or whatever. But it was bookended by 10 of Swords creation, and what was the last one called? Was it
Stasis?
No, Stasis.
Destruction.
Okay, so it was bookended by 10 of Swords creation, and it ended with 10 of Swords destruction, and then right in the middle was 10 of Swords stasis. So these 3 books did not have any specific ties to existing titles. Yeah. So honestly, if you want to read 10 of Swords and you don't want to read 22 parts, you could read those 3 issues and be okay. You will miss out on tons of minutia, but you could get the story from those 3 issues.
Okay, so they make a way for you, because I've read online, so I'd be like, gosh, I had to buy 22 issues. It's $100. So you're saying you could read those 3 and probably somewhat understand the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because we're looking at 10 of Swords Creations sets everything up, and everything I kind of talked to you about, with the exception of, again, some details. That was a 60-page issue, by the way. It was a huge thing. But then that is part 1. And then Stasis, I believe, is part 12. So throughout the course of like between part 2 and part 11, that whole thing is essentially just watching the different X-Men get their swords. And one of the things Hickman has brought to X-Men is something that he brings to a lot of his books. It goes back to Avengers. It goes back to his Image books. It goes back to everything he's ever done. He's got these pages in the comics that are just white pages with traditional prose and text on it.
Yeah, there is a lot of that.
And a lot of what you get that's, I would say, almost more important than what happens in the comics aspect from these first 11 parts is you're understanding what the layout is of Otherworld. You're learning the politics between Krakoa and Okara, and it's very, very interesting. So that's something that if you read Creation and then skip over to Stasis, you will miss those events. And I don't know that we need to get into the specifics of how everybody got their swords, but we may want to talk about who got their swords.
Well, let's maybe focus in on maybe your favorite story, sword story, or one or two of your favorites. Who got it and how they got it? Was there one that stuck out in your mind?
Not really, and that's not to say that it wasn't interesting. There's just for as much time as we spend with it, it just kind of happens quickly. So, like, Ilyana Rasputin has hers. Of course she does. The way Cable got his was actually told in his book before Ten of Swords. So when this starts, he already has a sword, which goes back to, like, the Space Knights, which is super random and such a deep cut, which is really, really fun. Wolverine's, I think, is probably
Wolverine stuck out. Yeah,
pretty interesting because he used to have the Muramasa blade, but the Muramasa blade, is it Muramasa, Murasama?
No,
I think it's
right.
Muramasa.
Muramasa.
But like that's the only sword that shows up on both lists, and technically is two different swords, but it's kind of the same sword. It's very, very interesting.
Storm has to steal her sword from
I'll be honest.
T'Challa.
I think my two favorite through lines for characters on the as far as X-Men goes throughout the whole 22 issue epic, definitely Storm and definitely Cypher.
Oh, okay.
Like Cypher and Warlock. It's Cypher, right? Yeah. I think those two came across as probably my favorite overarching stories. But, you know, it was very interesting to end up seeing who got their swords because we had, what's his name? He used to run Hydra. Gorgon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gave a crud about Gorgon, and that doesn't happen. Gorgon was great. Apocalypse.
Gorgon's fight, actually, with the final fight. That was one of the better fights.
That's how they ended up utilizing that to turn all of the tables.
But yeah, the getting the swords, yeah, you could, like you were saying, you could probably skip that.
You and I don't need to dwell on it. I don't think because at some point it's just going to be you and I just listing things.
Yeah,
and I don't know how to make that sound dynamic and fun. If you want to look it up, you absolutely can. Or you can come into my store and buy some.
Buy one because it gives a list in there of all the swords.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but I think what I want to focus on more is some of the major beats that I thought were very interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
We
kind of hit on it was one of that stood out was Gorgon's death, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Apocalypse says in there that's how a mutant dies, children, and that was a pretty dramatic moment, I think, in the story arc, in my opinion.
Well, let's talk about how the events were scored.
Okay.
Because it's very arbitrary depending on what's happening. Saturnine, she could, if you defeat 5 people, maybe you get 1 point.
Yeah.
Or if you defeat 5 people, maybe you get 5 points. It just kind of depends on how she's feeling.
It reminds me of playing games with your friends when you're 8 years old, and all of a sudden the rules change. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
It's a safe spot.
Well, and the whole time you're trying to figure out whose side is she on, and she's just on Otherworld's side. For the first half, maybe 2/3 of the events, Krakoa, the X-Men are behind. And it's in the event itself, the event that Ten of Swords is about doesn't even start until about part 14 or 15.
Yeah, you're right. It's pretty late.
Yeah, because the whole point of Stasis, the one shot that happens right in the middle, is we're just seeing how the Okara mutants are getting their swords. So where we spent like 10, 11 parts following the X-Men getting their swords, we get one 40-page issue introducing these new characters getting their swords. And then they spend like 2 issues getting dinner, and somebody tries to poison Wolverine of all people, and it's very interesting. One of the things we find out, one of the things we set up during the House of X and Powers of 10 that we talked about last year.
Last year, yeah.
Wow. Was it 2 years ago?
No, it was fall of 19.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Oh, I guess, well, technically 2 years.
Technically,
yes.
because we're in 2021.
Technically.
Oh,
yes.
my gosh. Am I old? No, one of the things that we learned in House and Powers was that X-Men have the ability to come back from the dead.
Yep.
They have resurrection protocols. Early on in issue 1 of Ten of Swords, Rockslide gets killed in Otherworld.
Yep.
Somebody else gets gravely injured, and they go back through the portal, and they end up dying on Krakoa. What we end up finding out from this is that if a mutant dies in Otherworld, they can be resurrected, but they're not the same. They're essentially a new being. They don't have their memories. Their powers are different. They come back physically altered somehow.
Yep.
So Rockslide exists, but he's not the same as he was before. He's a completely different being. He's essentially a brand new character, and that old Rockslide is dead. So what this does, outside of removing one of the coolest characters, as I love Rockslide, he's gone through such a cool transition from when he was introduced like 15 years ago as like this brash young hothead to like being a very lovable character. But they killed him, and it stinks, but you're like, oh, well, he'll be back. He came back wrong, for lack of a better term. And it's set early on that if a mutant dies in Otherworld, they're effectively dead. So like if Wolverine were to die, we would get him resurrected, but it wouldn't be the Logan we knew. It would be a brand new Logan with a completely clean slate. And we don't know what his powers would be, what his temperament would be. We don't know. We don't even know that he would be a he. You know, it's completely. It's setting up these stakes that the X-Men haven't had to deal with in quite a while since Hickman's run began.
Yeah, because before this, you had X-Men dying right and left, and just bring them right back.
Bring them back, yeah. The relaunched X Factor book. The whole plot of that is they are investigating deaths because they want to make sure before they bring someone back that they're not that they're actually dead.
Yeah, confirmed.
And so we don't have like 2 Mystiques running around.
Good point.
Which is really, really fun.
What about some of the fillers that you talked about, the Hellions?
The Hellions. Okay, let's talk about the Hellions. One of the standouts for House and Powers for me was the characterization of Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
Mr. Sinister has always been this cold, calculating, sinister guy. It's in his name.
Lack of a better word.
In House and Powers, what we saw was a more irreverent Mr. Sinister. He was kind of sarcastic. He's to the point where he's just like, I don't really care. I'm evil.
Yeah.
Whatever.
He just acknowledges it right up front.
And he's kind of man, you just kind of love him in the worst way. He's hilarious because he's just kind of given into the fact that he's just going to do his own thing, and he's not breaking any new mutant laws or anything. He's just kind of the worst.
He's just here, kind of. He's like, I'm going to do what I want. The council over here can kind of do what they want, but it really doesn't matter.
He's very, I guess, flamboyant. He's very showy. Like he's got like I love his like strips of cape that he has. Like it's so cool. He basically decides that he wants to put together his own team, and it's Hellions, and it's kind of like, what would you call the class from Welcome Back, Kotter? Like, what would you?
Yeah.
Like, it's very much like the outcast.
Yeah,
like,
leftovers.
He's running the island of misfit toys on Krakoa, and he's put together this group of just completely messed up individuals who do not get along and who may or may not be manipulating each other. And they go on a mission that outright fails immediately.
Yep.
And by the end of their story in Ten of Swords, they come back to Krakoa and are all brutally murdered. It's so incredibly random.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to accurately and adequately describe it to you guys because it is so left field. It's like you're reading Ten of Swords and it's this it's already strange on its own.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool, and there's like a million moving parts, and then suddenly Sinister shows up and he's like, let's go on a mission. And then they do that, and I want to say did they go to assassinate Saturnine?
Yes, they went to go assassinate Saturnine in another world.
And then they show up. They show up after the dinner that everybody has, and they're just late and absolutely fail. Everything goes wrong, and they decide to pull out and go back home. And as soon as they go back home, like they're all, I don't even remember how they die, but they definitely all died.
They all died. But it's just the way it's written. They write Sinister, just this comic.
It's so hard to describe. I feel like I'm not doing it justice at all. Zeb Wells is writing that book, and the way he writes everybody is so good because we've got Havoc.
Yeah.
Can I just say, as a lifelong X-Men fan, I'm really proud of Havoc. He's very much broken out of his brother's shell.
Yes, they kind of stuck with that for so long.
He and Cyclops very much work together. I very much like. I like Cyclops a lot again for the first time in a long time.
It's kind of the old school Cyclops again.
Yeah, he's very much like class president Cyclops. I was very surprised that Ten of Swords, a major X-Men event, really Cyclops took a back seat, which is not usually Cyclops is front and center, or at least has a very high profile B story.
So did Magneto. They really didn't use him a lot.
Yeah, Magneto didn't really have a lot to do. With Cyclops, I thought it was interesting though that we got to see him in prime dad mode. The stereotypical Summers we got in this was Cable, young Cable. As an aside, he killed himself. He killed older Cable.
Yeah.
And everybody's just okay with it. Like, I'm behind. I know there was a whole X-Force series before Hickman came in.
Yeah.
I need to read all of that. And I know it deals a lot with him. And then in the Cable book that's out, old Cable is kind of back. So, but like nobody's addressing the fact that young Cable killed old Cable, and they're just like, well, whatever. We're a family, and it's very strange. I don't know. I don't have a point to this. It's just it feels strange. It's like over at DC, Wally West killed Roy Harper, Arsenal. And everybody's just fine with it. They're like, whatever. Donna Troy's pissed at him, but Donna Troy's pissed at everybody, so it doesn't mean anything. And it's just like, okay. So if we had a Marvel DC crossover, I guess I'm going to need to have Nate Gray hang out with Wally West because nobody cares if they kill anybody.
It's like, look, we can do this. Nobody cares.
Actually,
isn't it great?
Actually, oh man, let me write it. Hey, Marvel DC, let me write it. I could do really cool. I could do a cool Nate Gray, Wally West story. Oh man, that would be great. Anyway, sorry. So we have basically what happens is Nate realizes that they are going to lose. They absolutely are going to lose. But the only people who are allowed in Otherworld are the combatants, which is one of the reasons why the Hellions failed their mission.
Yeah.
But throughout all of the different events, and notice I'm not saying fights; they weren't really all fights. But once Cable realizes that they're most likely going to lose, he gets a message sent back to Krakoa.
Yep.
And as soon as Cyclops and Jean hear that he's in danger, more so than anybody else, they go into like rabid parent mode. And
They do.
It
Yeah.
was just kind of a cool. It was a cool seeing Scott care about something without being militant and without
being the Boy Scout type thing.
Yeah,
we can't
absolutely.
do that. The rules don't.
Yeah, this was very much like my son is in danger and I'm going to move heaven
Yeah.
and earth to save
Yeah,
him.
because he goes to the council and they're like, well, I don't know if we should do this. He's like, well, I'm going to do it anyway. So
Yeah. Another interesting reveal that we find out towards the end of Ten of Swords through the text pieces is that since Krakoa existed, the X-Men as a team have actually been dissolved. So the X-Men actually haven't existed as a unit as we would understand like a traditional superhero team, which explains when you read an issue of X-Men why it's not necessarily following anybody specifically.
No.
So if Scott, who's like head of security on Krakoa, if he grabs like a team of people, it's just they're referred to as X-Men, but there is no
definitive team.
there's
like it used to
there's
be.
not a team of X-Men. There's not like you're not going to have like a core group of people. It's just more or less like when we have people going on a mission, they are functionally X-Men.
X-Men.
But that's just something they call each other. It's not an official title. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, that gives Hickman a lot of room to play with. Then.
Oh, it
He doesn't
really
have
does.
to stay.
It serves as a way to explain how he's telling his story, because Hickman honestly is only writing X-Men, but he's credited in every X title as the head of X.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely involved. One of the things I thought was interesting is I believe Teenie Howard was co-writer on most, like I think her name popped up more for more issues, like not even as just writer but also co-writer. And I'm curious how much of Ten of Swords came from Teenie Howard, who's I've really only known her from very few things before this, but I have enjoyed everything she's been doing because she writes Excalibur.
Yeah.
And Excalibur, if you wanted to read anything to lead into Ten of Swords, I'd say Cable and Excalibur are probably the main ones. Because Excalibur follows Apocalypse. We haven't even touched on Apocalypse yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, Teenie Howard, I'm kind of excited. It sounds strange, but I'm kind of excited for her to leave the X books because I want to see what she's going to bring to the table. Not necessarily at Marvel, but like any publisher at all. I would like to see what she has to say as a writer outside of the umbrella of the X family. Maybe it's because she's working with Hickman and the others. Maybe that brings out the best in her as a writer. I don't know.
Could
but,
be.
I'm excited to find out. I'm want to actually dig through her back catalog a little bit. I know she doesn't have like the largest.
Sure. She's pretty young still,
Yeah, absolutely.
as far as a writer goes.
As far as writings go, yeah. I mean, she's not. She's Teenie Howard. She's fine. No, I'm just excited.
The one thing that stood out in one of the fights was the Wolverine fight in the reality bending world he was in, and how they drew the panels. They had lots of panels bleeding into other panels. They had like this. He's fighting, was it Blight Spot or what it was? I think what his name was. Yeah, Blight Spoke.
Okay.
And so it was
that his first fight?
Yes, I believe so.
Oh, let's talk about this.
And it was divided up into kind of a wheel, and you had the different spokes, so to speak, and the fights took place in the different panels. It was really bizarre, but kind of well done. Not your traditional here's your box. This is what you stay in type thing.
Those guys had a very interesting relationship. It didn't last very long.
No.
Because when you fight Wolverine in an X-Men book and you fight him early, and you're fighting to the death, you're going to die.
Oh, it would have been the second fight.
Oh, was it
he
the
fought
second?
Summoner first time.
Oh,
and then
okay, Summoner. I'm sorry. Their names
Summoner, yeah. Was it surprising that he turned in the book? I mean, we all kind of knew.
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. Anyway, that was a side note. But
Summoner, I need to go back and read. I don't remember where he came from. He just kind of was there.
He
after
showed
a
up
minute.
last year,
Yeah.
late 19, and right away you're like, oh, this guy's going to be evil. And then
No, absolutely.
Sure enough, in the
Well,
book, he
and
turns on Apocalypse.
Visually, you can't separate too much of Hickman's work from each other. Like, there are visual themes. And when you go back to his Avengers run and you look at kind of the opposite happened, where he introduces these villains who visually would match kind of how summoners look. And we had like Black Swan was her name, I think, and she
okay.
ended up joining Thanos. But like he very much uses these visual characters who are like monochromatic, except for like a weird symbol on their chest.
Yeah.
Or head or something, and this kind of is like Summoner is the most typical Hickman character that doesn't fit in a box. Like you can't define him when you look at him, but you're just like, this is a Hickman character. Like this absolutely
okay. I see.
is very much what, like, Hickman's introducing this for a reason, and it's never going to follow a specific arc or a specific trend. Whether we're looking at like what were they called in Hickman's Avengers? They were like this dude was all in gold and he was a bad guy, and then by the middle of his Avengers run, that guy was an Avenger, and you're just like, wait a minute,
How do we do that?
yeah. So it's a very Hickman
Typical
thing.
Hickman.
But no, Wolverine was fighting. Was it Summoner or was it Blightspoke?
Blightspoke is where the panels were
No,
really
sure,
interesting.
sure.
But
there is one, and this is where my not reading it for a while comes into really hurt me. He fought someone to the death.
yes,
And he killed that person, but because it was a fight to the death and that person died, Saturnine awarded the point to the combatant who was killed.
That was Blightspoke.
That was Blightspoke.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And I was just like, come on.
I know. That's what. Yeah, it was kind of interesting to say the least.
It was really weird, and one of the events was just Wolverine and Storm drinking.
Yes.
There was nothing else really to it.
Yeah.
Let's get into one of my favorite things, and I know Ander, my buddy Ander, he's one of my best friends.
Saucy Nugs.
He's the Saucy Nugs guy from the YouTubes. You guys remember that? Like 6 months ago, he went up to the city council here in Lincoln and made a case that boneless wings are not wings. So just shout out to my boy Ander, and he listens to your podcast.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a great guy. We'll put a link in the show notes to the YouTube video. If you don't know what we're talking about,
absolutely. But he and I were talking, and his favorite moment and one of my favorite moments next to Storm's overall story was Cypher. His event was to get married.
Yes.
Okay. He married. Do you have her name by any chance?
Bay, I think it was.
Yeah. I can't remember her full name, but he ended up having to marry this woman from Oraka. And she's the only thing in all of reality to which he can't decipher her language. Yes. And he has no idea what she's saying. And she is very much a creature of war and conflict. And Cypher is a pacifist.
He's the total opposite.
Yeah, a total opposite.
Her name's Bay, or I think it's Bay, Bei.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, wait, I have to get married? And it's the weirdest, most random thing.
So you got Wolverine Storm drinking, and then you have a wedding.
And you have a wedding. And here's the weird part is out of this weird conflict is this random wedding that doesn't make any sense. And by the end of Ten of Swords, they have grown together and like have bridged their communication gaps. He still doesn't know what she's saying, but there's this weird kind of Game of Thronesy bond between them. And she's like, you don't mess with my man. And he's like, that is my wife and you will respect her. And it is like the coolest thing that doesn't make any sense. It's completely like, why is that a thing? And who gets the point? I think they each got a point because they married.
Because they got married. Yeah, you're right. They did.
Oh, man. It's so bizarre. Anyway, you guys, I'm so just real quick. I'm sorry that we are all over the place with this, but there's not a way to talk about this in like a linear fashion without just giving you like a bullet pointed list of events. And so a lot of this is just me reaching into my brain.
Yeah, it's like the idea is just kind of pull out some of the highlights that you liked and what you didn't like. I remember when it first, before it even came out, or maybe it had come out a couple of issues, and I asked you, hey, tell me, what's this Ten of Swords about? I was like, I can't. It's just so...
I couldn't spoil it if I wanted to, I believe is what I told you. Like, I would absolutely love to just spoil it outright, but I don't understand what's happening.
Do you think, I guess, side note, do you think somebody that hasn't read X-Men can read this and be okay? Or what do you think?
I have an answer for you. Let's go back to Ander, who we just talked about. He's read X-Men in the past. He's familiar with X-Men, but he had not read anything from House or Powers. So he hasn't read any of the Hickman run at all. And he was like, I would like to read X-Men. Where should I start? And I was like, well, I mean, Ten of Swords Creation is out. Try this. Maybe you'll like it. And he read all 22 parts, and it blew him away. He was like, I don't understand certain people's relationships to each other. I don't necessarily understand the politics of Krakoa. He's like, why can't Katie Pryde walk through portals?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Marauders, still my favorite X-Men book.
Yeah. We're gonna
just to get that out of the way. Kate Pryde is my lady, and I will fight you all. Marvel, DC, I have an idea for a Kate Pryde / Jessica Cruz Green Lantern story. Get at me. Anyway. But Ander, having no experience. Oh,
good pun there.
Tip your weight step. Having no experience with these books, came in completely cold and absolutely loved it. He had questions for sure, but that's what I'm here for. That's what that's what you're here for. There's something about comics that I absolutely love, and it's that if you want to, you can go pick up any random issue. I'm not saying you're going to have a good time with absolutely any comic, but you can try. And if you're smart, you can pick things up and kind of put it together. You may need to pick up a couple of issues, but I have a lot of people come into the store. Just recently, within the new year, people are coming in and they're like, hey, I'm brand new to comics. Where do I start? And I can't tell them. I don't know where you should start. You have to tell me, what do you like? And honestly, if you walk in and you're like, man, I kind of like, I like Wolverine, and you see a comic that has Wolverine on the cover, pick it up. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you'll hate it. Maybe you'll have no idea what's going on. But if you want to start somewhere, just start somewhere. If you come to my store and you try to buy like 10 of Swords Part 10, that's where I might be like, hey, let me point you in a better starting position for these characters, especially in the middle of an event. But for the most part, as long as you have an idea of what you like, just go for it. I mean, the worst case scenario, you're out maybe $4. I know this week, as of recording, Batman Catwoman #2 came out, and that is not a good issue to just start on.
Sure.
Because it's a non-linear story that assumes that you have a bit of information, but also maybe it's exactly what you're looking for. I can't tell you for sure. As far as Ten of Swords is concerned, if you want to read it and you've read nothing else from Hickman and you've read no X-Men ever, and maybe you saw like part of an X-Men movie on cable once, just check it out. Like, pick it up. Worst case scenario, maybe you don't like it.
Sure.
But world continues to spin, and everything is as it is.
What do you think about the conclusion? Let's get to the end here of the final battle, conclusion of Ten of Swords between Apocalypse and Genesis.
I don't know.
What did you think about that fight, or were you surprised at the reveal, I guess, or not? Okay.
Well, so we're talking about Apocalypse versus his wife, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Genesis Annihilation is the mask.
Sure. So I talked a little bit ago about how I'm kind of proud of Havoc and Cyclops, how they've grown up and have transcended kind of what we identify them as a stereotype. And I actually was watching a YouTube video recently where the guy said, hey, if you were to define Ebenezer Scrooge, how would you define him? Crotchety, couldn't be bothered, of this. And I'm pretty sure I've used this analogy on the podcast before. But Apocalypse, from what we know him as, is not how he ends the story. Apocalypse, more or less, I'm trying to pick my words carefully because I don't want to undersell what he did, and I don't want to give him too much credit, but I don't want to undercut it. He more or less sacrifices himself for Krakoa, and he goes to Oraka to live with his family, basically. Bay comes to live with Cypher.
Yep.
And there's like a transition of power that basically is like, if you leave everybody alone, I will come to you and we will nebulously live our lives.
Yes.
It's weird because it's a happy ending with like dark undertones.
Yeah.
Because like we're sending Apocalypse has grown into a new version of himself since House and Powers.
Yeah.
And I like, compassion's the wrong word, but the way he addresses conflict has changed. He's still the same character, but just his point of view has changed a little bit, and he's kind of learned, he's still all about
survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest, thank you, is right on the tip of my brain. But he also is like, how can I help make sure that more people are fit?
Yes.
Instead of just like, well, you weren't fit enough. He's trying to train people up to be better, which is not anything Apocalypse had ever done. So now we're removing him from that into more or less a toxic relationship with these horrible, horrible beings. My guess, and I know you wanted to ask me what I thought the future of Hickman's X books would be, and I almost wonder if for his third act, because we're into the second act now because we've got House and Powers introduced the first, Ten of Swords introduces the second. I'm almost wondering for the third act if we're not going to see Apocalypse come back without any of the quote-unquote humanity he had grown from living on Krakoa. Could you imagine if he comes back with all of the Orakans having fallen back into his original bad habits? And again, I'm not trying to say Apocalypse was like good or altruistic or anything.
No.
I don't want to misrepresent him as a character, but there was a change. And if we remove all of the progress and now we have a despotic, genocidal maniac who's almost unstoppable, who could now come back against Krakoa and the X-Men, I could see where, again, this is speculation.
No, I like that stuff though.
I could absolutely see where Apocalypse could corrupt Krakoa or remove Krakoa, and that would force the X-Men to integrate back into society.
Sure.
It would be interesting. It would be a neat bookend. If it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be upset.
Yeah.
But I could see where him going back to Okara has consequences to the future of Krakoa.
Yeah. I think one thing they alluded to a little bit in the story was, I can't remember who said it to him, but she said, I think it was Saturnine, said, you've lived a long time. It seems like you're being a little impatient. He's like, well, the reason I'm patient is because I have lived a long time. So that kind of alludes to the fact that all this stuff he's doing is part of the long game, because he plays the long game because he's virtually immortal. So
I'm really excited about it. The thing with Hickman's X-Men books that goes back to House of X #1 is my expectation as a longtime comic book reader and a longtime X-Men fan is you cannot anticipate what's coming.
No.
I can extrapolate based on how I know storytelling to work, based on what I know of the history of these characters. But time and time again, Hickman has given us a left turn when we were expecting to go right.
Thrown a curveball,
and it's very, very fun. I love being able to read a comic and not necessarily know what's coming.
Sure.
Sometimes I get a thrill of the opposite. Sometimes I'm reading a comic and I'm like, I know exactly where this is going, and it goes that way. You're just like, oh, this is so cool. This is exactly what I thought. When I pick up an X book, any X book under Hickman, I do not know where it's going, and it's kind of exciting. It's really, really fun. I have kept up with Hellions since the end of Ten of Swords, because how could you not? It's so very good. Yeah. I have not been keeping up with all the others. I've got them all. I have them sitting on a stack next to my bed, but I just have not gotten a chance to sit and read those yet, because I've been reading The High Republic from Star Wars, which maybe will be something we'll talk about very soon. But that definitely put all of my X reading on the back burner.
One thing I wanted to mention, I know we've talked about it off mic, so I want to get you on record about, was Professor Xavier on predictions.
Oh my gosh.
Professor X. Let's do it.
Professor X is evil. He's evil. He's a bad guy. He's so evil. He's the most evil guy who's ever eviled. He's so evil. I will put money on it. Even if in the story he's not specifically ever revealed as a villain, Professor Xavier from House of X #1 has been a villain. He is the antagonist. He is the villain. Yep. He's the bad guy. Like I can't even. It's not even ambiguous anymore. He's the villain.
Well, they've been I read some commentaries. They're like, the council as a whole has been asking everybody else to do a lot of pretty shady stuff. Mm-hmm. And Xavier is the catalyst behind a lot of it.
Yeah, he's the bad guy, you guys. And maybe he's got a reason for it. But you know who else had reasons? Apocalypse. It doesn't mean that
and he's gone
right.
now. So what do you think about the council? Because we have, was it 3 seats that are vacant now? What do you think is going to happen there?
I think
your predictions, or what do you want?
I think Xavier's going to manipulate it so he gets whoever he wants on the council.
Okay.
Because he's going to be happy that Apocalypse is gone. Well, I don't know, because he no longer will have that scapegoat.
Ah, good point.
I don't know. I'm not at all sure. I would almost really like to have a couple of issues of a book, or maybe even a miniseries, discussing how the council works. But I also... that book wouldn't sell.
Yeah, it's
the book wouldn't sell at all. But
Hickman may not even know.
Yeah, I would be very intrigued to see the inner workings of that. I also really, I'm hoping 2021 is the year I get my Moira X book.
Okay.
I loved Moira in House and Powers, and they've kind of loosely alluded to her over the years. But we were promised a Moira book in 2020. And I don't know if you guys know this, 2020 was a garbage fire of a year. Did you guys hear about this pandemic? Holy crap.
If you're listening to this and it's 2030, 2035, it was bad.
Yeah, it was not a good year, unless you're a tire company. But no, I was supposed to get a Moira book and didn't get it, and I really hope we will get it in 2021.
That could be there. Here's a prediction. Maybe we get a reveal that Xavier flies off the handle and Myra is the one to kind of put the pieces back together.
I don't know. I don't know.
But you're thinking in the near future, we're going to see Xavier come off the hinges.
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, we had to cut it a little bit short there. The store was opening and a customer had come in, so Tim needed to get to work. But we were pretty much done with the conversation. And I thank you for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. Please share with a friend and go to covertnerd.net for all the previous episodes. Also, I'll include in the show notes links to get a hold of Tim. And until next time, nerd it up.